Bé, bona tarda i benvinguts i benvingudes a tothom. En aquesta sessió us donem les gràcies des del Servei de Relacions Europees, Internacionals i de Projecció de la Ciutat, que hem estat treballant en el darrer any i mig sobre les estratègies de ciutat a nivell de marca de ciutat i a nivell d'internacionalització, lligat no des d'un punt de vista aïllat, sinó en tot el context europeu i internacional de les diferents iniciatives que tenen part. I en aquest sentit, fruit d'una cooperació també amb la Diputació de Barcelona, hem pogut tenir amb nosaltres, que ara us presentarà el regidor, el ponent d'avui, i que esperem que ens faci una visió del que és que s'està coent a nivell europeu per rellançar una mica tota la idea del procés d'integració, però sobretot basat en la ciutadania. I, a més, el ponent s'emportarà també que esperem que vosaltres pugueu fer preguntes i pugueu aportar no solament preguntes, sinó contribucions amb idees que ell prendrà nota i que s'emportarà a les institucions europees, com l'aportació que la ciutat de Terrassa fa en tot aquest circuit que els diferents experts en temes europeus i internacionals s'estan emportant a les institucions per reconstruir, el que diuen, reconstruir una mica la idea d'Europa, però sobretot basada en una reconstrucció on les ciutats i la ciutadania tenen el seu focus principal d'arrelament i amb aquesta nova etapa que s'enceta amb el nou període de programació de cara a partir del 2021, però que s'encetarà un cop les eleccions al Parlament Europeu de l'any que ve, que com sabeu se celebraran al mateix temps que les municipals en el mes de maig. Jo, per no allargar-me, li dono la paraula al nostre regidor, el nostre tinent d'alcalde, que us farà tota la presentació. Gràcies, Amadeu.
Molt bé, moltes gràcies, Joan. Bona tarda, benvingudes i benvinguts a aquesta conferència Branding Europe, Branding Terrassa. De fet, ara ho comentàvem, la feina que fem avui aquí no és d'una simple conferència, sinó també és un tasteig que, com deia el Joan, tindrà aquest retorn, un retorn necessari. També hem de començar fent un exercici de sinceritat. Ens hagués agradat que aquí hi hagués molta més gent de les que som aquí i per això les gràcies a vosaltres són en majúscules en aquest sentit. Però això també pot ser un símptoma de retorn, perquè com percebem Europa des de les ciutats o les regions europees? Potser aquesta és la gran assignatura a aprovar. Ara estem treballant en línia a través d'Eurocities en aquest sentit i reclamem i parlem del gran paper que han de tenir les ciutats en la construcció d'Europa. Perquè si les ciutats no en són protagonistes, difícilment Europa s'acostarà a les ciutats. I potser això és un símptoma. També pot ser un símptoma el fet que quan parlem de l'empoderament del ciutadà o la ciutadana, de quan a les ciutats parlem de participació, fem també aquella mirada de la ciutat cap endins. Participem en allò que ens interessa a la ciutat, en els diferents programes, actuacions que no passen les nostres fronteres locals. Però si aquest mateix empoderament que tenim a les ciutats el transportem a Europa, segurament el concepte Europa creixerà dins de les nostres societats, dins de les nostres ciutats, i en aquesta direcció, potser a la propera conferència o a les properes conferències hi serem molts més dels que som aquí. Però no defallirem en aquest sentit, perquè pensem que és clau el paper de les ciutats. I és clau, com estem treballant, el tema del branding també, la internacionalització, la competitivitat territorial, sense abandonar, bàsicament, la cooperació. La cooperació és vital en aquest sentit. Competitiu no vol dir anar en contra de la resta, sinó que a través d'allò que cada territori és competent, cooperar de forma conjunta. I això també és una manera de construir Europa. Nosaltres, com sabeu, estem treballant aquestes estratègies a través del programa, com deia el Joan, de marca de ciutat i d'internacionalització, i en aquest camí estem. En aquest camí estem amb Eurocities i compartint aquest treball amb el grup de treball de la vicepresidència d'Eurocities conjuntament amb l'Ajuntament de Barcelona. I res més, era saludar i posar una mica la reflexió abans de passar la paraula a Robbert Nesselaar, no sé si ho pronuncio bé, Robbert Nesselaar, que és expert en màrqueting i branding de ciutats. És director general de Citymar Consultancy, empresa especialitzada en màrqueting de ciutat, que avui té l'amabilitat d'acompanyar-nos, al qual li agraïm la seva presència. Ell farà també, com dèiem, aquest retorn a les diferents comissions de treball i estem ben segurs que la seva aportació farà que quan sortim d'aquí tindrem algun coneixement més ampli, haurem après alguna cosa més i quan ell surti d'aquí també tindrà un coneixement més ampli i haurà après alguna cosa més. Welcome, thank you very much, Robert.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction and for welcoming me in the city of Terrassa. So it's really a pleasure to be here. I arrived here this morning, like just after lunch, so did not have the opportunity to go to the city yet, but for sure I will do tomorrow morning before I go back to the Netherlands. So again, thank you, and it will be divided in two parts. So I give a short presentation, 30 minutes, I hope not longer for you. And then we have a discussion, 30, 40, 50 minutes. I hope a lively discussion on two interrelated topics. The branding of Europe and the branding of Terrassa. And already the word of branding, I'll try to explain because you have a lot of words in profiling, branding, promoting a city and Europe. So, three things. What is city marketing? I'm not going to explain it very thoroughly, just a few aspects of what is the marketing of a city. And what is the image of Europe? What is the image now? What do we want the image to be? And can we improve it very easily? Well, that's not easy. And just some proposals for action. So city marketing, you probably have heard of it. We all know the marketing of Nike and Coca-Cola, of Facebook, of companies, but cities are marketed as well. And it's complicated, but also very easy. So let's go for the easy part. This is all there is to it. This is the same for a consumer product. You need to have a good product, and you need to have a good communication. That's all there is to it. And of course, product of the city is a lot. It's the museums, it's the location, it's the materials that the city offers. And the communication is the image and everything that you need to profile the city. But in the essence, this is what city marketing is. But then it becomes complicated. Because a city is for everyone, investors, tourists, inhabitants, students, etc. And you have numerous products. Like a city already of 100,000 people or 500,000. Actually, a city is everything for everyone. That could be the definition of a city. But you cannot please everyone, so you need to choose. And choosing is very difficult, like economic clusters. Every city has maybe 7, 8, 9 economic clusters, but you cannot be a champion in everything. So you need to choose. And choosing means you disappoint people. And many things are interrelated. So working on the health issues, the social issues, economic issues, it's all related in the city. So we call them wicked urban problems, the very difficult urban problems that are very difficult to solve. Because why are they wicked? Some problems are there already for many years. So even the experts, the professors are not able to solve the very wicked problems, maybe also on poverty in the city, and the mobility and the energy transition, topics like that. This is also city marketing. So the city of Terrassa, the city of Rotterdam, I'm from Rotterdam, but the city of Vancouver, Sydney, they're all specific with all specific challenges. So no city is the same. So every city needs to decide very specific choices. They're always tailor-made. On the other hand, some principles every city can apply, like partnerships. ambassadors, storytelling. So there's some city marketing activities that every city can do, whether you're like a small town or a big metropolis like Shanghai. And this is one of the main questions of city marketing. So how do you want to be known? For what reason? By who? So what are the objectives? How do you want to be known and by who? And what is the present situation? So every city has a specific situation. Now, June 21st, 2018, there's a situation in any city. Some things are going well, some things are not going well. So what is bothering the city? Too many people leave the city, or the energy transition is not going well. So there are always issues. So, and some cities are doing very well, and some cities have come a long way, and there might be too much poverty. But this is really what it comes about. So city marketing is not an objective, it's a means to an end. So you want to realize something. So good communication, a brand, an image. You only do this because you want to make the perception gap smaller between identity and image, for instance. If no one knows your city, they cannot choose your city. If no one loves your city, they cannot choose your city. So, and there's a lot of competition. So cities around the world are trying to attract many people. So you get a lot of messages from many cities. So why would you choose, like for a holiday destination or for a study, master study, for a student, you can choose between thousands of cities. But if those cities are not doing a good job in promoting themselves, you cannot choose them because you don't know about them. So how to optimize, how to create a more perfect city. But it's not like a bar of chocolate, right? So it's not like a test in a laboratory. A city is like a big organic entity. And it's not easy to be unique. Every city, we spoke about it, every person is unique in this room, every city is unique. But do people know you are unique? And uniqueness in itself is not a goal. So these are some beautiful bridges by Santiago Calatrava, but they all look alike, and they're all beautiful, but they are not very specific. So if you want to build a bridge, maybe you could also look for some other designs. I'm not saying these are not nice, they're beautiful, but this could be another example. These are the words like resilient, green cities, smart cities. Every city uses these words. So these are actual slogans. So if you say you are inspiring, okay, but isn't every city inspiring? And these are, I'm not saying city marketing is about slogans and logos, but just 3 examples of the word only. And usually only is that there's just one. Well, here there are already 3. And you see like the letter logos, and they all look alike. And so there's not really, you are not distinctive in doing this. So it's really about the question, what makes you distinctive in a genuine way? So it's people believe it. And what I said about every human being is unique. But it's like a photo project from a photographer in Rotterdam. It's called Exactitudes. And they make pictures of people in the city. They look alike. They're all individuals, but if you look at them, they're all alike. And it's a bit like cities as well. So why would anyone choose you? People will choose you if you matter. So if you're relevant. Otherwise, people will choose another city if you're not relevant to them. But how do you matter? And it's not all about size. So some cities say, well, if we were London, if we were New York, we would have an easier job. But this is the city of Davos. 16,000 people, so not many. But every year in January, there's the World Economic Forum. So like 2 or 3 weeks, they're like really in the eye of the world, many journalists. So the city of Davos gets world attention, and there are only 16,000 people. So it's also about being inventive, innovative, in trying to get the attention of the world, and not about screaming and yelling and saying, look at me, but by offering something of value, of relevance. This applies also to consumer brands. Nike, many other companies. You need to be relevant, otherwise you're not chosen. There you need to be distinctive or unique. Well, that's difficult, but distinctiveness is important, and credible. Because many cities you can be like 2 of the 3, saying you're very creative, but if you're not credible with a lot of proof, then other cities will be much more credible by claiming to be like a green city, because you have all these lists today. The green city list, 50 cities being the greenest cities of the world, and you're only a green city if you're really credible in projects and in what you do every day. So the city of Terrassa has been working very thoroughly by good analysis on what is the competitive identity of Terrassa, for instance. And I think you've done a very good job, and I tell why. Because it's about having a clear competitive identity, and it's not always about choosing for like an economic cluster. Terrassa as well has many economic clusters coming from textile, but now going into film industry and other clusters. But what I really like is to connect with a creative spirit. And there are 2 things another city can never steal from you. That's the location, the geography, so where you're based, and your mentality and your identity. So I think there's a lot of creative spirit in Terrassa. I've been reading about it, I've been looking into it, and it's about proof. So you need to prove on every day that Terrassa is maybe more creative than other cities. So you need to walk the talk, live up to this promise. And there's also a connection with the brand of Europe. So I'll get later to that, but I think Europe does not need a logo or a slogan, and it's the same with the city. I know the city of Oslo, in Braga it was shared in March earlier this year, that Oslo has also decided not to use a slogan or a logo, but communicate what is the identity of Oslo by what Oslo is all about, storytelling and proving what the city of Oslo is. And a logo and slogan can never do that. So could it be like a connection with Europe with the story of Terrassa? Seoul and Joburg are 2 examples of cities that really connect with their continent. So Seoul says we are the soul of Asia, and Johannesburg connects with Africa. And there are not many examples of cities connecting with their continent. And it's the same in Europe. Maybe Brussels and Maastricht, they connect with Europe, but not that many. And Stockholm and Innsbruck, they connect with a region. So Stockholm quite bluntly says, well, we are the capital of Scandinavia. Innsbruck, the capital of the Alps. So you see sometimes that cities want to connect with the region and with the continent they are based on. These are some examples of how to profile a city with events. Well, you see some logos, storytelling, ambassadors, alumni. There are hundreds of ways how to present your city. And you have many scales. So a single project in a city, like a housing project or a neighborhood, a city, region, country, and continent. So these are all places. So place branding, place marketing. I used to work for the city of Rotterdam for 15 years, so this was a city. Now I do some work for the region of Zuid-Holland. It's a region on the western part of the Netherlands. And it's also place branding with all specific challenges. And that's what you come with, like Europe and the continent, Asia, America. Does it work the same like for a city? Well, it does not. So now I go, with your permission, to the image of Europe. It's an image of a few years ago, but I think it still tells the story of like a big quilt. Very diverse, and there's a strength and maybe also a challenge in the diversity of Europe. It's a patchwork quilt. And what we have seen like in 2016 with Brexit and turbulence with refugees, and maybe also like a division in Europe with north, south, east, west, and things are going on in Europe that are not all that positive. There's discontent, and people are not happy with many things that are going on. And there's a question, what is Europe? If you would ask people in the street, what do you think about Europe? Many people would probably say the policy of Brussels and maybe not the continent, with all the positive things that the continent, the geographic Europe is. Well, we have so much to cherish and be proud of as Europe. It's a beautiful continent, nature, economy, etc. So a lot to cherish. and many positive contributions by citizens. And that's actually, in my opinion, one of the most important things that we should not overlook, what all the individuals and the additional 500 million Europeans all do to make Europe a great continent. Well, this is a research by end of last year. So I don't think this is really bad, but it can be better. So if you say 40% has a positive image, so there's room for improvement. So do we deserve a better image? Maybe we have the image that we deserve, right? Or is there a perception gap? Maybe we should deserve a better image as Europe, as the continent, as the EU. Does Europe matter? And what you usually see with companies, if you have strong brands, and if you add them up, you get a real big, strong company. So we have beautiful cities, we have beautiful regions, strong countries, and you would expect that the continent, with all these cities, regions, and countries, would be very strong. And in my opinion, under the line, it should be a stronger Europe if you look at what makes Europe. So there's some perception gap, and it really needs attention. So is there a sense of urgency? Should we mind? Or is it a problem that the image could be better? Well, we've all seen what happened with Brexit and with other issues in Europe. So negative sentiment can have major consequences. So it's always bad if the image is worse than it should be, because there's like prejudice and maybe like over the years people have come to get an image of like the continent, which might not be based on facts. But not all people, the 500 people, look at the facts. What does EU do actually? So they have an opinion and they read the headlines in the newspapers, and they're not always positive. So that really feeds a negative, skeptical or negative image. And I believe that cities can play a very important role in this. So there's diversity in Europe. How to deal with this? Do we need a common thread? One narrative? Do we need to reinvent Europe? What does Europe need? Is there a problem, and how to deal with it? And what can cities do? So some people say we need an ever closer union, more federalism, and the union should become stronger. And some people say no, no, no. They say an ever better union, whatever that means. What is better? And some people say, okay, we need more Europe, or less Europe, a better Europe. The problem with the word better is that everyone has another opinion on what means better. Some people say that's a closer union. Others say no, not a closer union. So what we should actually look for is something that unites us. And this maybe could be like, what is the role of the EU? The EU has a role in prosperity, stability, making sure there's a single market. And we probably all agree, not more regulations than necessary. And not more political power than necessary. And not necessarily an unstoppable train. So we probably, maybe 90% will agree on this. But again, what is a better Europe? What can create unity in diversity in this big patchwork quilt that we just saw? What has the power to unite and inspire? And these are some suggestions made by people. They say we need a new brand. We need to rebrand Europe. Or we need to reinvent Europe. But Europe has been there for millennia with many things to cherish. And we need large works. I disagree with all of these. In each of these is maybe something that you say, yeah, that makes sense. But still, it's too much thinking of a product that can be branded. And we need to take assertive and spectacular steps. I really like this. I think we need like self-confident. We have the right to be self-confident because Europe is so strong. But maybe we need to live up to this. But then you say, what is spectacular? So if Donald Tusk is saying we need spectacular works, some people think this is spectacular. So we can build a new skyscraper. somewhere in Europe of over 1,000 meters high. I don't think this is spectacular. This will not win the hearts of people. So what I personally believe is that you better have 1,000 community projects than 1,000 meter high building. And it's all in the definition, what is spectacular. Sure, iconic buildings, and I love architecture. And we have a lot of architecture in Rotterdam. And if you can build a spectacular building, sure. But it's, in my opinion, about communities. It's about bottom-up instead of governments, EU, deciding about big, large works. Because it's a lot of words and no action yet. Now, I think Europe is EU, in many people's opinion. And it would be ideal in a few years' time that if we say Europe is Europeans, it's the people. And it's very good that in these two reports by the Europe Committee on the Regions and on the report by Luc van der Brande, it's really about that. It's about the citizens. And it's about the role of the cities. Because who is closer to cities than the citizens than cities themselves? So it's really hard for the EU to connect with citizens because they are distant. So they depend on cities to connect with citizens. So what needs to be solved? We need to touch the hearts and the minds of people. So not explaining why Europe is important because of economy. This will not touch the hearts of people. We need something that people get really enthusiastic about. And branding Europe is a means to an end. Let's focus on Europeans. So these are some projects in Terrassa. You must have many projects like these of community involvement, maybe with some participatory budgets to stimulate citizens to do something for their street. But very often money does not play a role. People are enthusiastic. They love their city, they love their neighborhood, and they do this on a voluntary basis. So I think voluntarism should be appreciated much more. Well, I like this quote by the former president of the US. So, if people are given a chance, they can do extraordinary things. And also the people that maybe are not seen. I'll get back to that later. So let's not focus on the campaigns. It's not a quick fix and not the big projects to make Europe proud again. It's long-term, pragmatic, and embrace citizens' projects. So in my opinion, the largest work is to embrace the smallest contribution by someone we don't know, somewhere in a village, somewhere in Europe. If we manage to see that contribution, I think we are worth of building high skyscrapers. But up to that moment, we should do our best to value every citizen in Europe and to make that visible, because stories inspire. And there are a lot of good EU initiatives, and these are just some of the initiatives by the European Union, by the institutions, citizens dialogues, back to school, Erasmus+. So these are very, very good, and I would say invest in these. But is it enough? That's the question. I think we need a different mindset, a different attitude to how to deal with Europe and with Europeans. So these are just a few proposals for action. And there are many actions possible, and I'm sure you have many ideas as well, so I'm very interested for the discussion if you say, well, this is what Europe would need. So I was speaking about what are effective principles in city marketing. So these are just principles, they don't cost a lot, actually don't cost €1. So many small actions, because sometimes we think we need something big, but if 1,000 organizations are doing something small, it's worth a lot. And not do it for 1 or 2 years, but do it every day, every hour of the day. Let's try to share much more, because in cities around the world there's so much going on that other cities can benefit from. I'm a believer in sharing, and I guess we all are, but then how to make it practical. So let's share more. Obviously, sometimes you need to send an invoice and you need to be commercial, but so many things can be done without money. And make use of existing communication channels, social media, magazines. There are, in the city of Terrassa, there are like hundreds of organizations that would say you can use our communication channel to communicate about Terrassa and Europe. So you don't need to buy, like for a lot of money, ads in the paper. You can use like the channels of partners. It should be transparent and sincere and engage the whole community. And actually a very, maybe even cliche, but we should optimize, I think, these principles. So let's appreciate the citizens. Well, I spoke about that. Touch the hearts. And not only the people that go to university, but also the people maybe with a lower education. And like youngsters in Rotterdam that get a high school diploma after really many challenges, and maybe they could go into crime, but they got their diploma. Embrace those guys. And I don't know, give them a letter by the mayor or a bouquet of flowers or whatever, but show your appreciation. Be passionate to people and show, because I think a lot of discontent in Europe also comes from people feeling that they are not mentioned and they are not seen. So give them a pat on the back. Small gestures is enough. It doesn't have to be big. So what you realize by noticing achievements by citizens, citizens feel appreciated, which is good, more positive. It's a good way of profiling Europe, because if you show the projects going on in Europe, it also benefits the image of Europe. And it contributes also to the global goals, the sustainable development goals. So actually you tick all the 3 boxes by appreciating citizens much more and communicating about it, make it visible. Well, you might know about the Sustainable Development Goals. They were introduced in 2016. They're like the new Millennium Goals. And many cities and many companies are connecting their policy with the Sustainable Development Goals. And one question could be, should Europe be a champion, an excellent player in one of these 17 goals? For instance, climate. It could be an idea. Of course, Europe and countries and cities are that big, so you contribute to all 17. So it's on food, it's on climate, it's on sustainability, etc. So actually, all of these topics, it's about water management, it's about partnerships, that's Sustainable Development Goal number 17. But maybe it would be an idea to be an excellent player in one of these 17. So maybe Europe should go to climate. I don't have an answer, but in branding, it's always good to stand out, to be a number 1 player in the world and not be the number 78 player or whatever. You need to matter. Well, I'm not really saying this because Erasmus was born in Rotterdam, Erasmus of Rotterdam, but I say, okay. But the main reason is that I really embrace his world citizenship. A person can be a world citizen, and I believe a city can be a world citizen as well. And one of the main things by being a world citizen is by sharing. So connect with the world. And what worked in your own city might very well work also in another city. And of course there are many city networks and best sharers practicing and best practice sharing. But I think maybe 10% of all the projects that are going on we know about. And many projects we just don't know could also work maybe for Terrassa, Rotterdam and many other cities. So let's optimize being a world citizen, also as cities and countries, and also as Europe. Maybe we should lead the way in the world to be and act as a world citizen. And this is more on communication. So every city communicates about its own city. And they try to get investment from Asia, and they try to get new students, and they get tourists. So they communicate all about their own city. And what I truly believe is that the message by a city can become stronger if you connect with Europe. So if somewhere in your investment brochure or somewhere in your video, because every city makes a promotional video of 2 or 3 minutes, but does a city also include the strength of Europe? If Europe is not seen as a strength, people say, and cities say, well, I leave Europe out. But it's really strange, because we all agree that Europe is strong, it's a good economy, the culture and the history, etc. But why do not cities use Europe more in their own story? And I've been working for Rotterdam, but also for the province of Zuid-Holland, on developing a toolkit. So very easy, good text, photos, videos, facts and figures. And I know that Europe has materials, the map of Europe and facts and figures and numbers. And but it might be an idea to look at the existing materials and maybe to improve it and make it interesting enough for a city to say, yes, I use info on Europe in my own profile. Because we all benefit from a good Europe, why can not we all contribute as well? So it's a two-way street. If we say we depend on a good Europe, I think every moment that a European city has a podium and leaves out the strength of Europe, it's a missed opportunity. But then we might need to make some new materials. And to finish my presentation, I think it's about appealing symbolism, good symbols that really touch the hearts of people. Inclusive, and I just suggest 3: bottom-up sharing, intergenerational, and build bridges. And I'm working on a project, and I call it Fertilizing Ideas, Harvesting Impact, and it's about bottom-up initiatives, and something good being shared becomes even better. So let's optimize in this. Projects in a city that can be shared with other cities. Intergenerational, well, Terrassa is a city of hockey. So this is a picture of the city of Lausanne, Switzerland, where the Olympic Museum is based. And it's an activity I set up myself. It's called the Generation Games. It's about 3 generations sporting together. And I truly believe that intergenerational connections, learning, young, old and young, it's a two-way street, is a lot of value. So it's a do-it-yourself sport event, multi-generations, etc. So, and it's shared, so I don't ask a fee. A city receives it for free, and no license, etc. So maybe the city of Terrassa would be interested, or it's free. We just need a local coordinator to organize it. And this is just an example of why I like intergenerational. And I think generations in Europe can learn a lot from each other, also by storytelling and understanding each other. And the symbol of bridges and bridging, because some people build walls, and maybe we should really focus on the importance of building a bridge. And these are 2 projects I have not worked on, but just 2 ideas on what if every citizen in Europe would send in a picture of his or her favorite bridge and share what's going on in the city. And why do we not celebrate bridges much more? A few years ago in Rotterdam, our bridge, Erasmus Bridge, I think it was 20 years. We had a breakfast at the bridge, and bridges connect. So they connect in the city, they stimulate urban development, but I think the symbol of bridges can also connect Europe much better. So to conclude, there's not one solution. It's a clever mix on how to profile Europe. And we should mind, so there's no room for indifference. It's really important that the image of Europe becomes better. Maybe so far we've done too little, not enough, but it's certainly not too late. And we can all, and we need to all be part of this. We can contribute and benefit, the citizens themselves and the cities, of course. It should be integrated, a multifaceted approach, because everything is linked with each other. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Robert, for your intervention. I think it's fix all the points that, in fact, has been now dealing with Europe and with the cities and the importance of the cities, how we link with Europe in our daily work related to branding and positioning of the city, link also with this bottom-up approach in which citizens should be focused on the point and related to the different public policies, also to contribute at least to show what is the needs that we can bring to the European institutions through yourself as an expert on this matter, and also in connection with all that this report that has you mentioned before, and that it's important that at least all the opinion, all the meanings of the citizens could arrive at the European institutions. Then I think that we are going to start the debate with some question of the audience, and not only questions but also contributions or reasonings that the people could have in mind. But I think that if the audience don't mind, perhaps a little bit contribution on how do you think that, for example, you have been in touch with our strategy here at Terrassa level, related to the both strategy that we have finalized last year, the one related to the city branding and the other related to the projection at international level, with the 5 main strengths that has been put in progress or in action. What do you think about these kind of actions related to the cities in which they are working on this positioning at European and international level? It is, you are as an expert, important that to be prepared for the next coming 7 years that it's going to start after the parliament election of next year, in order to be on the pipeline of checking the best opportunity for cities?
Yes. Thank you. Yes. I think what Terrassa has been doing and still doing, to not have just a branding strategy. Sometimes you see cities have like a branding department and an international department, and they don't work together very well. I think like the competitive identity and also the 5 major themes of Terrassa, it's connect with the brand and it connects with the international strategy, but it also connects with what Europe is about and how Terrassa wants to connect with Europe on the cultural heritage, on economy,
audiovisual,
yes, but also like I was saying about intergenerational and hockey. I think hockey is really a family sport. So if you live up to expectations on why hockey, it's a family sport, everyone can do it. So I really think that Terrassa is doing a good job in choosing the 5 topics that connect very well with how Europe wants to be positioned. And I think it's very good to also to the EU institutions that Terrassa is showing that it understands what Europe is about. So it's not about just profiling Terrassa and that it's good about Terrassa and getting investment and students, etc. But Terrassa is part of Europe. Mm-hmm. And Europe should contribute to Terrassa, but also the other way around. So actually we're all a big family. And some cities are working more with Europe. I think Terrassa is a good example. And some cities say, we don't need Europe. But maybe to give another example, some cities are so strong they don't need their country or region. So in branding themselves, they say, well, we have enough of our own. And I think, personally, I believe if you're based in Europe as a city, you should explain why you don't connect with Europe. I think actually you should connect with Europe, otherwise explain why not. Mm-hmm. And I think Terrassa is doing a good job in connecting the international strategy, the long-term strategy, with what is Europe about and what is the relation between Terrassa and Europe. So I think good job.
So we are keeping on.
Yes.
Molt bé, doncs now we are going to introduce in català. Si teniu preguntes, alguna mena doncs, de reflexió, doncs serà molt benvinguda per l'expert, doncs, que també doncs, aprofitarà per aportar-la allà doncs, on es treballa en els grups europeus a nivell d'aquestes comissions que s'estan duent a terme per tot el continent. Doncs dono la paraula per les vostres intervencions i llavors ell tot això també ho tindrà en consideració i també podrà respondre a les vostres inquietuds també per tenir una idea d'allò que vosaltres pugueu contribuir.
Tinc un parell de preguntes, aniré per parts. La primera és, quan parlem de branding de les ciutats i no tenim cap branding però ja tenim ciutat, com podem enfocar aquesta estratègia, no? Perquè a vegades no tenim els atractius. Jo penso sobretot en ciutats, no penso en una Barcelona, en una Terrassa, en una ciutat ja amb una estructura o amb uns recursos reconeguts, sinó parlo més aviat de ciutats més petites com Davos, però sense estar a Suïssa, en un entorn tan maco com és Davos. Com podem enfocar aquest branding si no tenim res?
Well, every city has something. But the thing is, some cities play in the Premier League, like Tokyo and London and New York, but they have their own league. And some cities are not known by many. But the thing is, the brand is a means to an end. So if there's like a village someone has never heard of, but the people in the city or the village give like an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 for life, for events, etc. So the brand is not an objective. The brand is a means to an end. The thing is, if you are not known enough, so people leave your city or do not choose your city, then you have a problem. So every city is a brand, because what is a brand? It's a name. So if you live like in a city, in a village, no one or almost no one has never heard of, you're still known by the people that live there. They have their opinion about the city, negative, positive, neutral. But the discussion would be, how strong should your brand or identity or profile be to realize your objectives? Because it's all about the city objectives. So if you see the economy is not good, or I don't know what is the challenge of the city, then you see is the image might be the reason for this. So some cities have a very strong product but are not known, and some cities have a very good image but their product is not that good. So it can be really strange. So what do you need? So you need a good profile, but you always need to realize, why do you need a good profile? And there are many things to, if you say, well, our image is not as good as it should be. Okay, then you need to act. Because if people don't know you, but they should know you, and then you can choose between a lot of things. So you can start an event or improve your communication, but you should know it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you cannot change overnight how people think of you. It will maybe take 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, because before you become known. But yeah, good question.
And related, en relació amb això, un cop ja tens clares les teves prioritats i saps una mica per on vols tirar perquè tens els teus objectius, en relació amb Europa, com no caure o com fer que els nostres polítics, i no parlo dels que tenim aquí, com fer que els nostres polítics no vegin Europa com una competència, sinó com una sinergia o com una potencial sinergia per ajudar-nos a assolir els objectius o el branding de la nostra ciutat. Perquè a vegades crec que amb Europa hi ha molts problemes i un dels problemes justament és aquest, que molts cops no ho veiem com una oportunitat sinó que ho veiem com una amenaça. Com podem fer que aquesta imatge canviï? És veritat que a nivell de ciutadania ens has plantejat alguns exemples molt bons, però a nivell polític, on sabem que els objectius són més a curt termini i sobretot més relacionats amb l'opinió pública, com podem fer que vegin aquest interès en Europa?
Yes, good question. Well, I think Europe can never be a competitor. Okay, I think there's a difference between a competitor and maybe something not to be proud of. So something you will not use in your communication. Because we all know there's a lot of competition between cities. We all want to have the creative class and we want to have some tourists, etc. So there's competition between cities. And I like collaboration more. Same in the Netherlands, Rotterdam, The Hague, Amsterdam, Utrecht. We're very close together, so we should collaborate, and we do. So competition is not wise. Sometimes it is. But about Europe and politicians, there's a lot of prejudice, I think, against EU. Citizens and maybe even politicians. And if you look at the very good things that the EU is doing, and I think the EU also knows that they need to focus. Because if they focus on the priorities, it will contribute to the identity of the EU. But is it about EU or is it about Europe? So, and do politicians want to connect with like EU policies, or do they want to connect with what Europe stands for? And of course, EU and Europe as a geographical continent, they are connected. And I think both are good, because we cannot do without an EU. But it's really the question, should it be more federalist or less? That's a discussion on more or less Europe. But I don't think we will solve that discussion. It's much more what unites us. And if politicians look at what Europe needs, and if you look at these two recent documents on the European Committee of the Regions and by Ms. Luc van der Brande, it's exactly what is needed now, and it's exactly what cities can contribute, can deliver. Because if there were no cities, of course there was no Europe, and there were no citizens. So if Europe wants to involve citizens more, they should reach out to the cities and the communities to make sure there's contact with like an appreciation of the citizens. It has to come both ways, and it's about trust. And I think every politician that gives Europe a fair chance to prove also that they live up to their expectations, that they say less red tape and less bureaucracy. And we all know that Europe can be very bureaucratic. So I think there's a lot of negative sentiment that comes from that. But if you read these two reports, you can say, okay, this was in the past. And if we want to build a new Europe, I'm not saying a reinvented Europe, because I don't like the term of reinventing or renewing, but actually doing things that we should have done before. I believe that together we can build a stronger Europe, and we can build stronger communities. So it's not, if the cities don't work on that, Europe will have a very hard time in achieving that. It's a two-way street. Yeah. And it's apart from political standpoints, because I know there are political parties that are against Europe and pro-Europe, etc. But it should not be actually a political debate. It should much more what unites us. It's common sense. I believe it's really common sense to say EU, Europe is Europeans. And now too often Europe is bureaucratic, etc. It's really a pity, because it's not really the reality at the moment, but it's really in people's minds. Yeah.
A veure, jo voldria dir que tinc molt clar les fortaleses que té Terrassa. Per exemple, històricament amb el textil, llavors actualment com a ciutat universitària, i amb el que respecta a l'esport, justament amb l'hoquei, que som campions. I llavors penso que sí que realment estem treballant amb Europa en molts projectes i aquesta relació funciona. Però el que jo crec que està fallant és que la relació amb Europa i els europeus i amb els països, això funciona. El que no funciona també són les institucions, perquè el que són les institucions europees estan fallant en donar una resposta clara als europeus, perquè moltes vegades donen la resposta a les altres institucions i llavors es creen uns problemes com, per exemple, ara hem vist recentment.
Yes, and what would be the question, if I may ask?
La resposta és com poden les institucions europees millorar aquestes respostes perquè els ciutadans europeus no es desil·lusionin.
Good question, and I don't have the answer. No. I think everyone in Europe is realizing something, that something needs to change. So I think it all starts by realizing something. Okay, that's a good start. And what I said, a city cannot change the brand overnight. EU cannot change itself overnight. So I don't know. I don't hope it takes a generation, but it probably takes time. But everyone, I believe everyone is convinced something needs to change in Europe, whatever that is. And some people say we need to leave Europe and Brexit and euro currency, etc. These are all, okay, sometimes political debates. But if the European institutions are not living up to, they don't answer questions by citizens, if they continue to do that a few years, then we will all see the results. And there will be negative results. So I hope that everyone knows what he and she should do at institutional level, at city level, country level, regional. If we want to prosper and have security, and we should cherish the many years of peace in Europe. And what you see, that maybe a generation has forgotten what peace is, how important it is in Europe. And so if we don't unite, so what unites us? And if institutions are not aware that this is happening, I think it will be problematic. So I hope they also read this and that something is needed. I think they do. Yes. Sorry.
Soc consultor en estratègia de ciutats i comparteixo bastant el plantejament. Parlaré de la primera part de la conferència, de la part de branding de ciutats, projecció de ciutats. Coincideixo molt amb el plantejament de dir que el que no és important és el logo o l'eslògan. Això és interessant però no és determinant, sinó que el que és determinant és que el concepte que la ciutat tria per promocionar-se sigui rellevant. Rellevant vol dir que és sòlid, és a dir, que allò que venem realment ho som i podem proporcionar això. Per fer això és imprescindible que tots els actors locals, els stakeholders, contribueixin, participin, col·laborin amb aquesta actuació, si no l'Ajuntament per si sol poca cosa pot fer. La pregunta meva és com pot un Ajuntament aconseguir implicar els seus actors locals més rellevants en una actuació conjunta per la promoció internacional.
Thank you, good question. I think city marketing is three things. It's a strategy, it's action, it's organization. And together you make the strategy. Because if you want partners to be involved in the action, it's always good to have them involved in the strategy. So what you see in many cities, and I think Terrassa has done this as well, I think for a period of like 1.5 years, to have many workshops, to have meetings, to involve people. And you don't always have to agree with everyone, because that would be very strange. You can disagree, have a good dispute, but once you decide, that's a decision for many years. So you always have to offer the opportunity to be part, the Chamber of Commerce, the cultural institutions, the sports department, etc. Everyone should have the opportunity to be involved. We know Genova in Italy, and we know many examples that are doing a good job involving. So, once there's a strategy, it is translated into an action plan. And then you go back to the partners that contribute to the strategy and say, okay, could you please be part of communication, activities, because there are many companies here in Terrassa that maybe promote new products, they do it like on an iconic location in the city. So that's what I said, small actions, big difference. If you connect with the many partners in Terrassa, you can make a difference. Instead of one big campaign for maybe 1 million euros or 500,000 euros, you better reach out for all the organizations in Terrassa, because they also benefit, like real estate, the university. Many companies will benefit from a good image of Terrassa. Also there, it's a two-way street. So how to involve them? Always involve them in the strategy, and then you can really ask them, do you want to be part in action? But also in organization. How do you organize your city branding? Because there's a lot of opinions, a lot of assumptions. but who is responsible for what? And there's always an overlap, like maybe the city council is responsible for the strategy and the overall long-term strategy, but there are also organizations that are responsible for the action, like getting tourists or getting students. And what's very important is that the actions, of course, contribute to the strategy, which is quite logical, but who will manage, who will measure, who will report? Because you can say, well, we have improved our image. Okay, did you do research? How do you know? And because it's not like math, it's not science. Marketing, it's like football. In Holland, we have 17 million people. Well, we're not at the World Championship. It's too bad, but we have a lot of coaches. And it's the same with city marketing. You have a lot of opinions on what the city should be or should not be, the best slogan, etc. But once you decide the strategy and the action plan, you need to organize it well. Who is responsible? Accountability, responsibility. And every single organization, from the very small companies to the big multinationals, they should feel responsible. Some responsibility. And maybe to add, sometimes you see models in cities that they ask money from a company to be part of the city marketing network. I know there's some models in the United Kingdom. They're called championing Nottingham, championing Leeds, and you pay £20,000 or £15,000 to be part of the city market. And with this money, they promote the city. What I've tried to do in Rotterdam is to connect with organizations, big companies, Unilever, Robeco, the Port of Rotterdam, also many smaller, that we did not ask for money. We asked for enthusiasm and commitment. So I believe that if you want to do a good city marketing approach, you don't ask money from the partners in your city, but you ask for action. I believe that's more credible and people will be more enthusiastic.
Jo primer de tot felicitar-te per la conferència, per la xerrada, per la claritat de totes les exposicions, perquè a vegades només quan sentim relacions europees internacionals ens podem perdre, perquè Europa és molt gran, hi ha molts temes a parlar. Jo penso, la meva opinió, que Europa, bàsicament el Parlament Europeu, s'hauria d'acostar molt més a les persones, molt més a la humanitat, i llavors la humanitat, els pobles, les ciutats, podrien confiar més en el Parlament Europeu. Bàsicament ho dic perquè si ens demostra confiança, si ens demostra una serietat, una responsabilitat, penso que els ciutadans ens podrem acostar més. Jo, des de la meva opinió, doncs a vegades em sap greu veure el Parlament Europeu, quan es parlen temes humans, de defensar els drets humans, moltes vegades el Parlament Europeu està mig buit o les respostes són fora de to. Ara tenim tot el tema dels refugiats, va haver un pacte, va haver uns acords que s'estan incomplint. Relacionat amb la ciutat de Terrassa, la ciutat de Terrassa té molts punts, moltes fortaleses. Una d'elles és el tema de l'accessibilitat de persones amb discapacitat. S'està treballant molt a nivell de col·lectius, a nivell d'associacions, a nivell tècnic i a nivell de polític. Fa uns anys hem tingut premis reconeguts a nivell europeu i això és una joia. Però jo més que premis m'agradaria, hi ha una llei europea de la no discriminació a les persones amb discapacitat, que és una llei com moltes però no es compleix. Com hem de confiar en el Parlament Europeu si fan lleis i no es compleixen? Llavors el Parlament Europeu ens ha de defensar a tots i que tots tinguem els mateixos drets i oportunitats, però si ells que ho acorden no ho fan, no ho demostren, jo penso que aquí la confiança es perd. La meva pregunta és, no creus que s'hauria d'humanitzar una mica més el Parlament Europeu i que surtin més en contacte amb la gent del poble?
Fully agree, yes. I think it's all about trust. And trust comes from both ways. And you can also say trust comes by foot and leaves on a horseback. So it comes slowly and trust can be lost very quickly. So if there are things not going well in the European Parliament, people get disappointed. And disappointment is a next step for indifference, and then people don't mind. That's the same with if you buy a product and you don't complain anymore, okay, you're lost, right? But if you still matter as a European citizen, what's going on, that's good. But I fully agree. And it's about law, yes, but I believe more in positive, in awarding people and in positive contributions. So there should be law and there should be rules, sure. But I think it's always better to give like a pat on the back and also for measures that cities do. And I just mentioned the generation games. It's intergenerational. And I also connect with the WHO in Geneva on working on age-friendly cities. So on the topic of ageism, because of age discrimination. And you can say you should not discriminate against older people, but you can also underline something that's more positive about what people of all ages can do and underline the intergenerational. So I think it's a difficult question, but I fully agree it's about trust. And if people are disappointed time and time again, that's really bad. And you cannot be against Europe being humane. And it's very complicated, and sometimes I'm glad I'm not a politician, because you have to decide on many difficult, interrelated, complex issues. And very often the negative things come in the paper, and that's why people base their opinion again on Europe, and here's Europe again, and bureaucratic, and we cannot trust them. Yeah, that's about my answer. I think it's. I agree, but it's not easy. But like I said, it's a process, and if we all make small steps, I hope in a few years' time we are there where we should be.
Una mica... Sí. Jo dic, en Robbert ja ho sap perfectament, tot el treball aquest que hem fet a la ciutat de Terrassa durant el darrer any i mig, fa pocs dies presentàvem aquestes conclusions, fèiem el nostre relat de ciutat per aconseguir aquesta marca que ha explicat el Robbert. Jo us comentava aquí de dir aquella ciutat que no té res, i com que això té un retorn i ho estem treballant també amb altres ciutats que potser tenen alguna cosa, i som també convidar aquelles que es pensen que no tenen res. Perquè una ciutat es fa en base a una història i una ciutat s'ha de descobrir a si mateixa. Segurament penso que no hi ha cap ciutat que no tingui res. La nostra ciutat de Terrassa ens ho pensàvem fa 15 anys que no teníem res. Fa 20 anys encara ens pensàvem que teníem menys. I ara ens donem compte de tot el que tenim i gran que és, no? Amb aquests 5 àmbits que hem treballat, que ens situen, com és la universitat, com és l'hoquei, com és l'àmbit de la salut, l'àmbit de l'audiovisual i cultura i patrimoni. I a més ens hem adonat que la cultura i el patrimoni, com un àmbit que hem descobert en aquest any i mig de treball amb moltíssima gent i entitats que també ens connecten al país, i en aquest cas som ciutat en caràcter a Catalunya per la nostra cultura i patrimoni, i només hi tenim 8 ciutats. És a dir, quedem sorpresos d'allò que se'ns va reconeixent com a ciutat creativa, darrerament el tema del cinema de la UNESCO, per una realitat també de feia molts i molts anys que la ciutat té. Això segurament moltes ciutats ho tenen. S'hi han de trobar, han d'investigar-se ells mateixos, i aquells silencis que a vegades reclamem amb altres coses de la nostra història, és que hem estat molt temps en silenci i no hem parlat i recuperem memòries, doncs aquests silencis que tenen moltes ciutats són els que s'han de començar a descobrir, perquè sempre sortirà un relat que no necessàriament ha de ser patrimonial, no necessàriament ha de ser tangible, però les històries com així, i en això comparteixo plenament el que deia el Robbert, són les que defineixen una ciutat més enllà d'un eslògan o d'un logo. Jo sempre soc molt pesat quan fem sessions d'aquestes, i el Joan ho sap, que si la poso, i ja sé que faig propaganda gratuïta a vegades d'un refresc, que és la Coca-Cola. O sigui, la Coca-Cola és Terrassa, la Coca-Cola és la ciutat, la xispa de la vida és la marca. Però si tu entres a un bar i demanes una xispa de la vida, estaran 3 segons rumiant, i si és una altra generació no sabran que els hi demanes, però si és Coca-Cola en 2 segons la tens al taulell.
And maybe to add on that, I think it's about self-confidence. And I fully agree that every city, small villages have something, how small it is. So it's about pride and sharing the pride, but not exaggerating. So don't make yourself bigger than you are, because it's about under-promise and over-deliver. So it's always good that people that visit you, that are positively surprised. Because some cities, they promise a lot, and then you go and you say, it was okay, but I expected more. And it's always good to be proud, and even that people find it even better than you promised it to be. Because then they spread the word, and that contributes to storytelling.
But how can you possibly make people proud about their city? Perdona, com pots fer que la gent es senti orgullós del seu lloc?
Well, some people are prouder than others, okay? Some people are from characteristic maybe more positive or more negative. But it's really about what is the history, and people tend to forget. And what is the DNA of the city, and maybe cherish something, like with film, and do an event, and involve people, and co-creation. People become very proud if they get an opportunity to be part of something. So if you are like a city and that hires a very expensive agency to do like a film production or like an event, why not involve the people? So you should always involve the people in the city, and it will make many people proud.
Well, I'm actually working in a project, in an Erasmus program, and I see that our students here from Terrassa, they have a pretty hard time to go abroad because I feel they have like a lack of confidence that they adjust to the European level of whatever. Oh, ¿Se m'ha entès? Se m'ha entès? No. Val, que treballo amb el programa Erasmus amb joves i observo que una mena de, no vull dir complexa, però sentiment d'insecuritat a l'hora de projectar-se cap a fora, d'estar al nivell, per l'educació, per la competència lingüística, per haver mai anat fora, una sèrie de coses que és una mena d'insecuritat o no vull dir falta de curiositat, sinó igual un complexe, és una paraula forta, però la idea principal sí que transmet. Llavors m'interessaria com es podria estimular, donar-los més confiança en si mateixa, de que cap a buscar nous horitzons per ells mateixos mai poden fracassar. Sempre és guanyar, no? Noves experiències, nous contactes, altres coses. És afegir, i noto que em costa transmetre això a la joventut aquí a Terrassa, al Vallès.
Yeah, well, I'm not an expert on how people to make proud of themselves, but I get your point, and maybe it has to do something of being proud of your city, because if you're a proud citizen, then it might also add something to your own pride. And maybe two examples. I don't really know the complete story, but the city of Torino, Italy. Before they had the Winter Olympics in 2006, the people of Torino were always a bit, maybe not negative, but okay, not very optimistic, not positive. And then the Torino Olympics were there, 2006, and something happened in the city. And they say, wow, it was a very beautiful event. And then they had like the World Book Capital and the World Design Capital. It changed the city of Torino. For the city of Rotterdam, maybe 20, 30 years ago, we felt like a second city. Maybe even second city syndrome. We all love Amsterdam, right? The big capital city, like many capital cities, are all loved by everyone. And then you are like a second city, a port city, but then something changed. Maybe it started in 2001 when we were European Capital of Culture together with Porto. And then we invested in events. And then there were 3 buildings that were built in 14 months. It was the Market Hall, it was the new Central Station, and it was the Rotterdam by Rem Koolhaas. And then Lonely Planet, Wallpaper, CNN. We won prize after prize. And it was something that, okay, what's happening? It was strange for us as people from Rotterdam, what is happening to the city? And now the city is booming and lots is going on. So maybe you can even say that the pride of people is connected with how they feel, and if they feel comfortable in the city, and when they walk with pride and their head up and their shoulders high. So I think if something's happening in Terrassa, also the people from Terrassa can say, well, I'm from Terrassa, and that people in Barcelona say, well, Barcelona is so many kilometers from Terrassa instead of the other way around. So it's the same with Rotterdam and New York, because Rotterdam sometimes is mentioned Manhattan on the Maas, the River Maas. And a former colleague of mine, Tom Wesseling, says, well, New York is Rotterdam on the Hudson. See, so it's really playing, it's a joke, but still, it's be confident in your city. And you can never be another person, because you are who you are. We know that by Oscar Wilde. So, okay, but you can never be another city. But if you always complain and always say, well, the weather is not good in our city, and if we had like this that London has, you don't. You have to be happy with yourself, but it does not mean you should not develop your city or yourself. Or Europe.
Moltes gràcies per l'exposició. Encara que ha dit que no coneixia gaire la nostra ciutat i que tindria ocasió de conèixer-la més detingudament demà, sí que ens agradaria, si al final de la jornada treu una impressió positiva de les potencialitats de la ciutat. No en va, vam ser subseu olímpica en hoquei el 1992 dins la candidatura de Barcelona. Hi ha una llarga tradició musical, de jazz, de bona arquitectura, de tradició universitària centenària. Vostè creu que una ciutat del tamany de Terrassa, 218.000 habitants, si demà al matí confirma aquesta impressió que jo tinc, podria aspirar a ser candidata a capital europea de la cultura?
I will keep my eyes open tomorrow. So I remember you when I walk through the city. It's hard to tell, but it's always good to place the bar high and to be confident and to be ambitious, but also realistic. So if you're not realistic, that's not good, because you get disappointed time and time. But it's very good to be ambitious. And who knows? Because do cities of the future have 10 million people? Or do the vital cities have like 200,000, 400,000? We were talking about before, and we talked about like the pocket-sized metropolis. So if you have like an atmosphere of a big city with a theater, with university, with good transport, with a good livable city, but not the negative things of congestion and not the negative things that come with like cities of 5 or 10 million people. Because here you can still breathe air and you have a good quality, but the big metropoles, yeah, okay, and often they don't have a choice, because cities in Africa and Asia, they double, like Lagos, and like people from like farming areas go all to the city, and they have major challenges. So what is the ideal size? I don't know, but if you say 200,000, 300,000 people, why not have the ambition to be cultural capital, but build on your strengths. So keep your strengths strong. If you are the #1 city in Spain, in Europe, on hockey, it's a strength. And don't go for 20 sports, but be a champion in hockey. And it's the same maybe with film. Do you have like a film biennale? or maybe you can connect with some European cities and to work on film. So now that if you've chosen like 5 areas, be strong in those 5 and watch out to go for 10 or 12 or 13 areas, because that's what I started with choosing. Because if by choosing these 5, you probably have disappointed some sectors. They say, why audiovisual? Why not, I don't know what. But like for the size of Terrassa, it's good to stick to 5 and be very good at it. And maybe even be a global player in some topics. And yeah. But I will be very interested in walking through the city tomorrow. I get up very early. Yeah.
Bé, doncs, si no hi ha cap pregunta més o cap altra intervenció, jo passaré ara la paraula al nostre tinent d'alcalde i regidor de Relacions Europees Internacionals per acomiadar l'acte. Només dir-vos que, recordar-vos que les estratègies aquestes de les quals el nostre ponent també ha parlat i ha tingut ocasió també de llegir, les trobareu penjades al web municipal perquè estan ja publicades i tots aquells que vulgueu de dintre o de fora consultar-les sobre els aspectes que s'han dit aquí les podreu trobar. També recordar-vos que donem les gràcies molt efusivament a la xarxa Eurocities i també al grup de treball de Cities for Europe, en el qual hem estat treballant i que s'ha estat retransmetent aquesta sessió per streaming i també la podrem tenir gravada i us passarem el link del YouTube per tal la que podeu gaudir o repassar o reenviar a qualsevol altre amic o amiga que la vulgui veure i donar també les gràcies a la Diputació de Barcelona que ha estat també amb nosaltres en l'organització i la col·laboració d'aquest acte d'avui per tal de poder fer arribar totes aquestes veus i aquestes inquietuds a d'altres institucions supramunicipals. Res més, també donar les gràcies al Robbert, també un amic que hem participat en diferents actes també dins de la xarxa i fora de la xarxa i amb les seves aportacions molt enriquidores i ja passo la paraula al nostre regidor perquè faci el comiat.
Gràcies, Joan. Ràpidament, reiterar l'agraïment dels que heu vingut avui aquí, en el Robbert, a tot el Servei de Relacions Internacionals i dir que continuem. Això forma part d'un camí que estem fent amb tot el tema de competitivitat i marca de ciutat. Continuem treballant, tindrem oportunitat de compartir experiències, de compartir visions en aquesta direcció i que defensem plenament aquest paper de les ciutats respecte a Europa. No fa masses dies, per primera vegada, des que soc regidor, ens vam tancar tot un dia, tot l'equip de govern, parlant únicament dels objectius de desenvolupament sostenible per definir i implementar-los i veure les realitats d'allò que tenia el nostre pla de mandat de la ciutat i de veure-los incorporar-los en situacions futures. I passada la festa major, marxem amb el Joan i l'alcalde cap a Schauen, on una sèrie de ciutats intermitges i Terrassa estem treballant, compartirem aquests objectius, compartirem aquestes inquietuds perquè no defallirem, aquesta és la nostra manera encertada o no, de pensar que les ciutats han de tenir un paper importantíssim en la construcció d'una nova Europa, que ha de ser nova en aquest sentit, perquè no té cap sentit que, i aquí s'ha comentat, que a vegades sembla, ens doni la sensació que un Parlament Europeu miri només les parets d'allà on es reuneixen i un Parlament ha de tenir moltes finestres obertes, de vidre, que es vegi a fora. I quan es mira a fora, a Europa, no veus altra cosa que persones. I les persones estem a les ciutats. És de les ciutats, que ve de les ciutats, que hem de continuar a reivindicar-nos. Repeteixo les gràcies Robert, i fins la propera. Vagi molt bé.